Okay, well, this is one of my random streams here. Don't expect too many people to show up, but if you have me, you're following, you might get a email or something that works. Anyway, this is how to make print book cover with GIMP. I'm using GIMP 2.10.4, but I would imagine that this will work any kind of GIMP. So, you need your book cover. What I'm doing is I'm making a large print book cover of an already existing hardcover book, which is Jack of Spades books that came out in 2015. I am creating a hardcover of it. So what you need to do is you can do this through, what I'm doing is I got an, I'm going to make it through IngramSpark, make it hardcover. So the first thing you need to do is to upload, we'll try opening as layers. And we want to get our PDF of the cover. Well, we already have the PDF of the cover. Actually, the PSD files, the layers of your original cover, you need that. But you also need your template for the print book cover document. That's what this is gotten from IngramSpark. No, it doesn't look like you can see it, what I'm seeing. See if I can get it so show you. I know what I'll do. I'll screenshot it. So what you want to do, if I can, you'll have a box come. Giving it right. I'll just I'll import it for what I did. Okay, so let's open that. It, but I'll show it to you. Okay, so when you go to import from PDF in GIMP, this will pop up. It. And what you're looking for is right here. At first, it will say a smaller numbers for these, and it'll say 100 pixels per inch. You want that to be 300 because if it's not, it's going to be really small. So once you have that, then you hit import, and you're all set. Okay, so let's get back to here. We've got our, I could added it there. We don't want it there. We want it in front. Now this was something that was done, like I said, a long time ago. And so we have all these lines and all these guides. So, and you see that we have a template now. What we have to do is make everything fit this template. So the first thing we need to do is to get rid of all the guides. We're going to make new ones. So image, guides. See this? Yes, you can't. Well, you want to go to image, and then you'll go down to where it says guides, and then it'll say remove all guides. That's how you do that, and go away. So we've gotten rid of our guides, and the reason why we're doing that is because we need to put new ones in. See what you guys see. Well, looks like a whole bunch of people have showed up. Welcome. I'm not going to do what I usually do and name everybody because I'm kind of focused on this. Sorry about that. But if you'd like to say hello, you're welcome to do so in the chat. Glad you're here. Now I'm just resizing it so I can, get this. So now if you notice your template that you got from IngramSpark, and there's a process that you have to do to get that. You have to go to the IngramSpark website and you use their tools and resources, and it's their cover template generator, I believe it's what it's called. And you have to know the ISBN, because you have to make this barcode right here. And you have to know what size your book is, like number of pages. And you notice that this is going to be a large print book, and it has like 740 some pages. So it's a really wide spine. We're going to fix that. We're going to make it so it looks good. But first of all, we have to make our image size so that it covers the template, because right now it looks like part of the template's being cut off. You can see how the template is going. We've got the template selected, and it's going outside of what our image was. So we'll go to image, and you will fit canvas to layers. Okay, so by magic, now you have the canvas fit to the layers. And you notice in our, we have some layers that are going beyond the book. That's fine. Those are the old layers that the cover designer had put on here. She had put a zillion layers on here. We may or may not use those. For right now, we're going to close that out. Let it be hidden for right now. So anyway, we have our book, of our book size here. And we want to, first of all, put in some guides, because we want the book to fit into a new dimension. It was a different size. It was 6 by 9. And then you notice down here, now it says 6.14 by 9.21. This is because, being a large print book, when you increase the font size, you're going to increase, and you're increasing, you have to have a larger font size, because this is for people that can't see very well. So it's large print. And so when you increase the font size, you're going to need more space for that same number of words. So instead of being a 230 some page book, it's a 740 some page book. So it's bigger. We need to redo the guides. So if you're not familiar with doing guides, they're very useful. And what you need to do is put your cursor up here where the ruler is, and then just drag it down. You see that white line is coming down, and you make it stop where you want the guide to be, which would be at the edge of your thing there. Now, it may help to view it, to zoom in some. So I'm going to zoom in. Let's try 50. And you notice that when you do that, you can see that the guide is not exactly on the line. What you can do is, if you click on it, I don't want to move the layer. I want to move the guide. Trouble here. Sometimes can cause problems. Let's see. Go way back here. Get that guide to move. Not move everything else. No, it's not working. Okay. So when pick a layer or guide is probably what we want. And I can pick the guide and see then it shows up red. We can move it to where we want it. Did you see how I did that? The tool toggle in the move tool. And if you can't see that, just let me know in the chat. I think the chat should be visible here. I'm not seeing anybody chatting, so I'm just assuming that you all are getting this. Okay. So now there may be nobody here. That's always possible. But I'm presuming that there might be somebody coming in here. Anyway, so what you do is you do the same thing. You pull this line down until it gets to, these guidelines are helpful areas for you to be able to cordon off your book image. And and you can do the same thing on this side. You pull this and it pulls over, and then you can drop it where you want. Like I said, I like to zoom it in because, I can't see that great. So it helps me to have it bigger. And you just put a line everywhere there's a line. And the white is not going to be a book. The blue is where basically going to be folded, or see, it says right here. The pink is safe. And if you're having color issues, like you don't see well in color, I'm hoping that there's enough difference in tone that you can see the difference between that and that. Anyway, this area is pink, and it says, everything that's important stays in here. This is where there's going to be folds. It might be like a crease or something. So you don't want words, important stuff in there and up in here. So, but we want to know where those are when we're putting our other stuff. So even when you're over here, I like to go to the edges first and just drop your guide there. It should be right on the edge. You don't want it to be too far inside or one side or the other, because you don't want like a blue line or a pink line in your art, unless happen to be making blue and pink art, but I'm not. Or gray, brown. So anyway, so we just keep putting these lines in. And this is one of the most important parts, actually, because once you have these down, you don't have to worry about whether you're going to be outside of your lines or whatever. It's really helpful to have your guidelines set so that you can, do a proper job. I say preparation is a really big part of doing anything. Once you've prepared everything and you're set up, then you can get going pretty easily. Now I do a line here for the pink and blue, and then it shows these other lines down here which are lighter, and you may or may not be able to see them, but on the thing, but they're there. I mean on here, but they're like little dotted gray lines, but they're on the template. And so you want to put a guide to each spot. Now you have a barcode, and you want to put guidelines around this barcode, and you want to get as close as you possibly can, or maybe even a little bit inside. And that's important for the barcode, because you don't want pink around the outside of your barcode. You'll see why in a minute. You'll see what might happen in a minute. Show you. So we've got, if any time you want to go inside, that's here. So what we'll do is we've got this thing here, and we're going to duplicate it. This is our template that we've just put most of the lines around. Let's duplicate that. And for this one, we're going to rename You just click it real. Oh, there we go. Where this is going to be the barcode. Okay, so let us get to our, I know we're not finished putting all the lines yet, but I'm just going to do this right now since we're here. And so the select, we want view, and it says we want to make sure that show guides is checked, obviously. If for some reason you were doing that and you couldn't see any guides, this is the place to look. View and then show guides. If you keep going down, there's something that says snap to guides. You want that to be checked too for right now. Okay. And looks like you're not seeing that. So you basically go to view, and then it's a drop down. One that says show guides, and then there's one that says snap to guides. If you have both of those checked, you're okay. Now we want to go to the rectangle select tool. We want to select this area, snapping to the guides, so we know that we're inside these guides that we used. Now, so we've got this. Make sure that you're on the barcode label, and we want to go select and invert. Invert, and then we want to get rid of everything. So we Control X or Command X, whatever your thing, or you can do it up here. Edit, then cut. And if you turn off your, you see now the barcode goes down to just a little bitty thing. And if you turned off your template here, you see that now you have a barcode sitting on top of your book. And we're not going to worry about that too much right now. Right now we're going to finish doing these guides. But it's nice to, that's how you can put that barcode on the top of your book, on the front of your book. And that's where it goes in this template. It will be different in different templates. So you want to make sure that you use the template that you've got. And if you've used an old template, that's why we got rid of all the lines first. Okay, so we know where the edges of the book are now. And we know where the barcode's supposed to be. So now we don't need this template anymore. You can either do one of two things. You can either drop it down to the bottom, which is what I recommend. Pull it down to the very bottom. Or you can just hide it, but I think it's easier, and it's easier to see where you're at. And now you can zoom out again. So now we have this template. I don't know what all this is, just like some of that got left over or whatever. And we have this book cover. We have this barcode. And we are ready to get into business. So as you notice, everything is off center, and it's not right because this was a hardcover book, it's like I said, a much smaller book. So what we need to do first, let's hide the barcode for just a minute, and we'll hide all the stuff that's on top. We don't need the title, we don't need the back. We're looking for just the imagery of the cover. And first of all, let's move that around. Let's see what we've got here. So we'll get it more or less centered. This really should have been how to change a book from one size to another, because that's what we're really doing. Sorry, I had to mute this because I had to sneeze. I'm sure you don't want me sneezing in your ear right now. So we've got all this stuff going on, and I'm going to turn this off for just a second so I can see what we've got here. It looks like they cut it. They cut this stuff off when they were making the cover. Okay, so we don't need all that stuff right now. So that is just kind of getting in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here where we are at. Whoops, okay. And I'm going to just take all this stuff that's up here that I don't need in this layer. Just get rid of it because we don't need it. And we will select selection. We can, what can we do with this? We could cut it, I suppose. We could make it a, well, it doesn't matter. Got a selection here. Why don't we just cut it? Just get rid of it. We don't need it. Going away. So I don't know why. Anyway, if I bring this in, it'll go away. Oh. Okay. Well, let's undo that rectangle select. We'll put our template back on. And we'll just tell it we only care about what's in here. Let's select that. And then invert the selection. Get rid of all the other stuff and cut that. Let's see. This layer. Or why that's not cutting. Well, okay, well. Oh, because it's multiple layers. Okay. So why don't we could cut this up here too. Either. Okay, well, it doesn't want to go. So we've got our cover, got hidden everything except for this. And let's see if we can't move this to select all. We want to move this layer. Make sure nothing's locked. Because a lot of times if you have some trouble cutting something or moving something, it's because you have something locked. I don't seem to have anything locked, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Okay, let us turn off the template and see what's going on with this layer because it's moving very strangely. Makes me think that there's something else going on with it. We can have a little troubleshooting here. Let's try this again. Go to the outside of the part that we want of this layer, which is this right here. Get all of that. And we've got all of this part that we want. And select part and see if it'll cut now. And it does. Okay, good. So we got rid of that stuff we didn't want. So now we have the stuff we do want. You always want to save. You've got, especially if you've got something you needed, like your original Photoshop files or something, you always save it with a different thing. Like I saved it as large print, so I can go get those original files again later. Okay, so we've got the nonsense taken off. Now we can just focus on moving. Here, like our template got moved. Did the template get moved? I guess not. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, what have we got here? Like we want to select the image. Crop to selection. Let's try that. Okay, so let's select none. How about that? Okay. All right, so let's, we will move this. Okay, we still have an issue with the layer being too big. Our layer is huge. We don't want such a huge layer. Smaller layer. First, let's get it somewhat centered. The problem with having a layer so big and it may help if you're having trouble with moving stuff around, it may help if you take it out of the grouping. So you notice it's in a grouping. And sometimes if you take it out of the grouping, then you can work with it a little bit easier. And then you can put it back in the grouping when you're done. So that's one weird thing about GIMP. So let's turn off everything else and see if we can't get this down to a decent size of a layer that we can work with a little bit. We want our layer to be with layer selection. Okay, so now let's turn this on again. And now you notice that you have a layer that instead of being way big like that is now small, and we can move it around and make it snap to the guides. So the other thing you might notice is that your layer is having a lot of trouble centering, right? Because the center of it is here, but the center of your book is going to be like over here. So how can you fix that? Well, there's one really easy way to fix it. And that is to split it in two. And I'll show you how to do that. So what we can do is find the center of it. Let's turn off these guides for a minute. We'll unclick the show guides and we'll unclick the snap to guides. We don't want it snapping to random things in here. We'll just close off everything else. So all we've got is our thing here. So what we want to do is we want to find what we believe is the center. So let's get a guide, put it right in the middle there, where we want this whole thing to split. You could split it anywhere you want. This is where I want to. It doesn't have to be perfect. As it turns out, it's going to be covered. And we want to show guides at this point, right? Because otherwise we can't see where our guide is. And So that was wrong. And we put the snap to guides back on again. But all I did is I moved a guide to the very center of where we want the thing to split. We want book center to be centered. And what you can do is you can get your rectangle guide, the rectangle select, and go and select that, maybe this front part. Make sure that, zoom in a little bit here. Make sure it's covering the whole of the old cover. You want to get as much of this old cover in as you can. You get that, and what you can do is float your selection. And the way you do that is you go up to select and then go down to float, and that floats your selection. You notice there's a floating selection over here. What you want to do is right click it and then go to new layer. There'll be a selection, the thing that, I don't know if you can see it, it'll say to new layer, and then it'll say floated layer. And then you'll end up with a second layer, which is the other half. You see how now it looks like there's one half and then another half on the other side that says imagery copy. So now what you've done is you split this in two. And we can move these two halves wherever we want. So let's turn on our template again so we can see what we're doing. And so we'll just call this front layer. And we'll just call it front. And then we'll double click this and call this back. Right? We've got a front and a back. And we want to make sure that these are in a place that looks nice. So over a bit. Where it's, just in a place that looks nice. Now remember, this line right here is for our, that was for, you remember, that was for the barcode. That's what this line is for, and this line too. You don't need to worry about these lines. In fact, you could even get rid of those lines if you wanted to. You just kind of grab them and go, oh, grab this one and go up, and it's gone. That way you could see what you're doing better. So what we're doing here is we're making the front and the back. We're moving the front and the back to a spot that looks better for the book. So it's more centered. Right? You want this nice picture to be in the center of it. Or see, this is where it's going to bend, maybe, or actually, yeah, it's where the bend might be. Like if you took that off, because this is where stuff's going to happen. So we don't know where they're going to cut it off. So if for some reason there's something down low that you need to see that's more important, you can move it up even. Move it to wherever you need to. So it's nicely centered. Kind of like, Bob Ross, you just, wherever you feel like doing. Your book, remember? Your book cover. It can go wherever you want. I'm not sure why this is snapping. I don't like the way it's snapping. I want it to not snap, so I go to View, Snap to Guides, and unclick that, and then I can move it out. It's snapping. What I want it to do is kind of be centered in this blue area. And I will show you, because you want this middle part to be centered nicely. So what about this blue? Okay, I'm going to show you in a little bit what to do about the blue. We're not going to worry about it right now. We're going to wait till later. So let's go to the back now and center that nicely in this blue area. Now you notice we're starting to see some pink show up. That's okay. You know why? Because the pink is where our spine is going to be. If you turn this off and you turn it off, nope, not that one, this one. This is our spine. we are going to do something else with it. You will see in a minute. Okay, so this is going to be the back. We're going to move it over so that this nice centered circle part back. Now, if you want, you can turn the other one on just to make sure they're kind of even. Well, this one seems a little bit low for that one. If you look, you'll see that they are. They're not quite even. And if you really, really want to make them even, you can make a guide go down here and make this so it's exactly even. Just so that when you look at both sides, it matches pretty well. It doesn't look like a totally different picture or it's off kilter or something like that. When you have it open, it looks nice. Okay, so we've got almost right, I think just because this is kind of darker over here that I'll move it over more, everything. But I could always move it more later, so we don't have to have it perfect right at this point. Okay. So what are we going to do about this spine? Now, you will see the spine is I've made up something for the spine. Now we're going to open a file that we're going to open this. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to rotate it. Image, transform, then rotate 90 degrees. Okay, now we've got this. What do we do with it? We can copy, either, Control or Command C, however you do it on your keyboard, or you can use the edit, copy, and then go back to your thing and then edit, paste as new layer. So we're pasting it as a new layer, and of course it's way too big. So we'll use our handy dandy scale tool, scale it, and we'll just scale it right down, boop-a-doop-a-doo. And of course it's the wrong color and all that, we'll fix that. And we can move it up. Too tall also. That's okay. We're going to make it look like we have leather, which is going to be really cool. I found this leather stock photo a long time ago, and I've used it in a couple other things. I used it in the Red Dot Conspiracy Act 1 book as well. Okay, so let's put this on top of things we want it to cover. And what we can do is we can use our rectangle select, spine area. We want to kind of avoid the barcode. So maybe inside, just inside where the spine is going to be, just so it looks nice. And then we go to layer, actually select invert. We don't want that part, we want the part outside. And then cut that. Okay, So now we've got this nice leather looking outside, but it's way too bright. So what we can do is we can change the colors on it. Now there's a couple ways of changing colors. You can just colorize it and just move it around until it's the way you want. Another way you can do it is you can go to the original image here, or your front, and do a color selection. You could sample the average when you set your foreground color to sample average, and then pick anywhere on your picture. You want to make sure that your front is, you know, selected. You could pick a color like here, and then see what color that is, and copy that. Yeah, see, it's not showing up, but what I've got open is it says change. When you right click on this, a box open up that says change foreground color, and then it has an HTML notation, and you can copy that. I wish that this would show all this stuff because it makes it way easier. And then if you want to do a colorize at that point, no, I've got it on the wrong thing. I want it on my leather. I want to make sure the right thing is selected. You could colorize your leather and fill in your HTML location on that. And why is that not working? Oh, why it's not working? Okay, does that work? For some reason that did not work. Do colorize, so I guess we get to do it the hard way. Okay, hard way, easy way, it really doesn't matter. You can do a color balance for your leather strip, and adjust things that way until it matches. You can do your color temperature, your hue and saturation. Definitely want to decrease our saturation. Little guy. It doesn't seem to be working. I'm not sure exactly why. Not sure. I've got, usually when you're having a problem, I know what the problem is. Got that selected. Wrong thing selected. Okay, so now let's try this again. We've got our leather, we're selecting that. Let's try colorizing again. Colorize, then when the thing opens up, you see how it immediately colorized into a color that's close to this. But I think we want it to be a little bit lighter, right? Be a little, try. Mess with the saturation, see how that goes. See how it darkened up right away? It looks pretty cool. So let's try also some brightness and contrast. Yeah, see, that's looking pretty good now. We'll decrease the contrast, brightness and contrast till it looks like it matches with like it's supposed to be on this book. We want to make it look nice, right? And you can mess with this if you use something like a leather picture or whatever on your book. You can mess with it and see what works and what doesn't. That looks a little bit better. So I don't pretend to be an expert, on this. But I do my best. Okay, so we've got our spine, we've got our picture, and we've still got this blue. So what are we going to do about the blue? So let us let's close out these for a minute. Close out that, and then for the cover, click on the. I'm going to actually need to separate this out. I don't like this to be all together. Way harder to work with. Okay, so we've got our template on its own. Let's call it template. We've got our template on its own. So we see all these lines. So let's use our selection tool here and go all the way to the edges. Make sure we've got our show guides. Oh, we need our snap to guides need to be on. I want to make sure it's snapping to these guides right here at the edges of the blue. We want that blue to be totally covered. And then what we'll do is we'll add a new layer. If you look down here, there's a little, looks like a page with a little plus. You click on that and that creates a new layer. We want to move this down to the bottom because we want that layer to be almost to the bottom of the place of the page here. But let's see, you do it without getting it into that grouping. Do the grouping and then we'll move the grouping above that. Yeah, that did it. Okay, so we've got our template and then we want to add a layer on top of that template. So we'll do a, we'll call it background, and then we'll make it transparency. And I'm going to show you why in just a minute. So we've got a background layer that's transparency. Now we've got this part right here selected. What are we going to do with it? See, there it is still. What I'm going to do with it is I'm going to take, I want to make sure this is the right color. So we click on it. It still hasn't, this foreground color is still there. And it's still that dark, dark, dark brown that we had gotten. Now you could use that or you could use black. I mean, I'm probably going to use this just because I think it looks cooler than using black. I have used black before in my hardcovers, which have that dark, with that dark outside. But use any color that blends into the edges of your thing. It may be that you'll have to, enlarge one of your pictures to do this. I mean, if you have the edges of your picture, your cover that are black or white or a color, then you can just fill it in. Otherwise, you may have to do some other things. But for now, I'm just going to use this single color. And I'm going to make sure that I'm clicked on the background, the clear background, and I'm going to use the bucket tool to just pour that in. And that covers it. See? So now, when I add in front, back, and excuse me. Now, if you notice, maybe this brown wasn't such a good idea because I'm seeing a little line. So if that's the case, you can always just go back and change this to black or whatever color you want. Yeah, you can't see it. I wish you could see it. There's a thing when you click on it, when left click on it, you could change the foreground color. You could change it to whatever you want. And I changed it to black here. And I'm just dumping black in there. You know, it's black. And so when I put the front and the back leather on there, there's no line really on the outside as much. It's not going to be as noticeable. Okay, so that's done. So now let's put our barcode on, make sure it looks right. Looks okay. And now we can start messing with the title and all. So we've got our title. And as you notice, you're not seeing your title because your front is in front of it. So what we need to do is move the front down, top of that. And that's actually pretty well centered. I like it. Too bad. Within the lines. And that worked out. Doesn't always do that. And I'd put some embellishments there. So everything looks centered. It looks good. Not going to worry about it. Now the back. We got to move our back down, right? Because otherwise it's covering. So this didn't turn out so well. So what we do is just take our move tool. Got to make sure that it's making, see when it's, look here, when, see now it's got that plus with a finger. You want it to make just a plus. On just a plus, it's on the actual thing. How you know doing that. And get it so that it's where you want it. Kind of centered in that space, because when you move, when you go to a bigger size book cover, everything is going to need to be moved. Not, and especially with a hardcover versus a soft cover, it's just very different. Same thing, you just move each piece as you want. You had a whole bunch of stuff over here on the book cover. Fine. Whatever you have on your book cover, you might have quotes, you might have whatever you want on there. And you just move it to where you want it. And there you go. What I like to do as well is to drop a line down here, just to make sure it's lined up with however you want it lined up. That's pretty good. So now, we've got our title. And okay, well, we are missing a few things, like how about we move this leather down, because we are missing our spine things. We want this to be in front of the, yeah, there we go. Our spine all of a sudden, spine words all of a sudden appear. Now, let's see. Which one is this? Is this? Okay, that's that. If you click on a layer, you can see where it starts to be outlined, and you can see where it is. It's easy to lose. So you can move, you want this to be in the middle of the spine, because right now it's on the side. It would show up in the front. You don't want that. You want it to be nicely in the middle of your spine. And let's find my name, the one right there. Get the plus on there. Excuse me, let's zoom in a bit. Zoom in. Grab onto it easier. and move it over. And then we have where, oh, where, aha, there's my little logo, but it's being hidden by something. By what is the question? Move it out. If we can't get it. Okay, so why is it black? It should not be black. Something's going on here. So, oh, that's the, oh, there it is. It's red. Looks like she had done some sort of ombre thing with it. So let's move this over. And we'll move this over. Not right. I want to move just this layer over. Move the active layer. If you're having trouble, just do move the active layer and that should help. Okay, well, this is really, really not red enough. I want it to be more red. So let us work on that, and we can do some color work with it. Use saturation. See if we can't increase the lightness. Saturation, that little, or I might have to just add something. Might have to put a new one. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I have one here. So we'll open as layers, and I'll find my little logo and I'll stick it on there. So this is basically, what you do. It's not that complicated. You get out the little pieces you want, you put them together, and then you put them in there. See, there's my logo. I just need to resize it and all that, stick it in there. To consider making a little logo for your books, for your book imprint. Scale that size at first. And let's see, what else do we need to do? We've got our front stuff. We've got our spine. We could make this spine name or something a little larger if we wanted. I mean, it's a larger book, so maybe that would be something we could do. And if you wanted to make your name, the way I turn this, somebody might be asking, how did I turn this? Basically what I did is I just typed it across and then I rotated it. And when you rotate it, it becomes a picture. Why it's here and not, doesn't have the, not using the text tool. Now you're using the graphics tool. And with that, you can now make it bigger or smaller as you like. Do that. Increase the size or width or whatever you want to do. I don't really want to do that, so I'm not going to. But you could do that for your logo. You could do that for, for me right now, it looks pretty good. For that, this, where did, Not sure what happened here. See. What is, let's see what this is. Pick a layer. What is this? So it's claiming this whole thing is this huge layer. Okay. Well, that's fine. I will just center it. It was actually pretty good before. I'm going to put it back the way it was. Now, if you really want to, you can do a little guide here to make sure your words are lined up nicely. Pretty well. Whatever you want. So there you go. I think that turned out pretty well. The way you want to make sure that everything is covering the guides. And if it's not, like, look right here. Let's zoom in a bit. Down here, this, for some reason, this is not covering the guides. So let us check on this background here. I want it to go guides. Okay. If for some reason it's not covering your guides the way you want it to, fix it. Fix it however you want. So it's the way you want it. We'll just turn off everything else. And make sure that background is covering the guides, because you don't want to have a pink or blue thing on your nice book. A pink or blue book. I mean, definitely not a children's book. So, and then we'll just go ahead and dump the black in there again. Zoom in just to make sure it's way down to the bottom. Okay. Is that not? That's very strange. Anyway, I can fix that. Not a problem. So this is how you do it. All you do after that is you save it as a PDF. And there you go. Do it all, see what it looks like, all whole thing. We have a nice, oh, the one thing I forgot is you need to put on some indication that it's large print. So what I would like to do is put on an indication somewhere that it's large print. So let's do one more thing. We'll open as layers. We have this gear. Move it up to the top. It's going to be in front. And we put it here. A little too big and it's the wrong color. So let's scale it down some. And that looks fine. You probably can't even see it. We'll just anchor the layer so it's an actual layer. And we can colorize it. Make it, what color shall we make it? Make it a gold color. So it's really easy to see. You know, this would be kind of cool if we made it like 3D or something. Let me get a good color for it. That seems like a fine color. Maybe a little bit more on the... Okay. And, you know, you could do that however you like. And then inside, what we can do for this gear, we can do all kinds of stuff. We can make it bigger or smaller. I'm going to write inside large print. Actually, that might actually be a good thing to do. What we can do is we can do an ellipse select. Give ourselves another layer. These transparent layers are so nice for when you want to just add something on top of something. So let's go to the gear layer and pick out the color of, let's switch this, not sample and average. Let's sample this right here. We see that's the color we want. Okay, so we go back to our background, and in that we can pour that. Okay, so let's not select anything anymore. Like we've got a little bit of dots or something. It'll do that, which I don't really like. GIMP is not 100%. Oh, I guess it was just an artifact. Okay. So what we can do on this now is we can switch that back over and add add some words like large print. And of course, we don't want it to be so very huge, so let's make it smaller. And we'll decrease the spacing because we had set it up for, I had set it up for something for the title of this. It doesn't need to be nearly so ginormous. You know, just kind of center it. And now, as far as guidelines for making an actual large print book, I use the American Council of the Blind guidelines, which you can find online, and that seemed to be really useful. There's lots of resources online as to how to make a large print book. So see, you can see right there, it's large print book. And if you want to move all these together, you can do that and link them. Move your gear. So there you have it. I'm going to think about whether I want to large print something on here or not. An alternative would be to put, or you could also put a banner here or at the bottom that says large print, just so that people know, because you don't want somebody to get the book and then not like it because, not what they want. So there you go. That's how you can make yourself a large print book cover from a book cover that you already have. And it's really pretty simple with GIMP. Even as long as you have the layers from your cover designer, you can do whatever you want with them. Of course, your cover designer can make a large print edition for you, but it's been many years since I used this cover designer, and I already have the layers, so why not? Making your own covers is fairly easy. I'm not going to say mine are the best in the world, but if you want to learn, GIMP is a good place to learn, and a good tool to learn. Once you get the hang of it, you can do a lot with it. I hope you've enjoyed this and that you've learned something and get to be making your own large print covers for watching.